Right, I've set myself up in this spooky forest where I'm out hiding so that I get to host my own Halloween Jimquisition for once. Because it's about Dead Space, a topic very Oh God, what's... No. No.
He's got a hard on for me.
Turning players into payers.
Oh, I do so love it when fears come true. Electronic Arts shutting down Visceral just in time for Halloween. Now, here comes a video from a sad fat boy to tell you all about it. Dead Space was my favourite brand new series of the last generation, and it stands to reason therefore it houses at least one of my bestest games ever. Heavily inspired by Aliens and Event Horizon, two of my favourite sci-fi horror offerings, the original Dead Space blended horror and action together in a way few games have been able to manage since, with a precise combat system revolving around the methodical dismemberment of twisted, mutated, highly aggressive corpses. The original was developed by EA Redwood Shores, a studio founded by Electronic Arts itself under its EA Games division. It was their work on the critically acclaimed Dead Space that led to them becoming their own unique developer, christened Visceral Games in 2009. But back to 2008, Dead Space was released at a time when it seemed as if Electronic Arts was turning a corner. Its then CEO, John Riccitiello, was pouring honeyed words into the ears of the populace, claiming regret over the company's acquisition and closure of quality studios like Bullfrog, even suggesting the $60 price tag was too much for many games and that we needed flexible pricing. This all turned out to be bullshit, of course, but at the time, EA was investing in brand new IP like Dead Space and Mirror's Edge, and compared to Activision, who at this moment in history was suffering from a Bobby Kotick keeps fucking talking problem, the company looked positively angelic. However, the warning signs for Dead Space were visible as early as 2008 before the game had even released. I was introduced to the game at a preview event in London where we were given Dead Space underwear. Get it, cause you'll shit your pants, and shown a full-life replica costume of series protagonist Isaac, a costume I personally never saw EA use again. That was a good use of money there. Before we even got to try the game, we had to listen to EA talk about what a transmedia smash Dead Space was going to be. Despite being a horror game, typically a successful genre within a niche audience but not a mainstream one, Electronic Arts was desperate for a hit, any hit, to rival Activision's current success. And so, Dead Space was introduced not just as a game, but as a comic book series and an animated motion picture. It's weird to think of now, but at the time, EA was deathly serious about this thing being like Roger Waters' vision for The Wall, an act in multiple parts spread across multiple mediums. Unlike Pink Floyd's accomplishment, of course, Dead Space's idea didn't quite work, and its cinematic ambitions did not result in a classic. The comic book went nowhere, boasting 6 issues and a one-shot, while the film was rubbish. They made us watch it at the preview event, but the game was a commercial success. In 2008, Electronic Arts could look at 1 million sales and call it successful. Dead Space would sell 2 million across 2 years, and EA seemed to be actually happy with that. Oh, those were the days. While Dead Space wasn't a worldwide transmedia phenomenon, it worked as a game. And that was the crucial part. Now, EA did seem to be more or less on the level at this point in time, but we should note that it had already begun ramping up the practice of excessive downloadable content that would eventually lead the AAA industry to the ruinous dystopia it's now inhabiting. A significant amount of DLC was bolted onto Dead Space, all of it ready for launch day and boasting skins for Isaac and his weapons, some of which upgraded the player character. This included the Astronaut Pack, the Big Gun Pack, the Elite Pack, the Heavy Damage Pack, the Hot Rod Pack, the Military Pack, the Obsidian Pack, the Pedestrian Pack, the Scorpion Pack, the Speed Kills Pack, and the Tank Pack. Fucking hell. Even Games Media at the time found the launch day DLC staggering, but it was a mere hors d'oeuvre compared to where the industry would eventually go. It's sad that something this ridiculous seems almost quaint now. Before the main sequel, the then crowned Visceral would release Dead Space Extraction for the Wii in 2009, where it received favourable reviews despite being rather short. So that was nice. To whet our appetites for more Dead Space, EA had the bright idea to have a puzzle game made by Sumo Digital. If you wanted some bonus items for the upcoming Dead Space 2, you'd need to play it, but well, look at it. It was trashed by critics, and Jesus Christ, look at it. Oh, and there was also another animated movie and a novel published at some point. 2011's Dead Space 2, of course, upped the quality stakes with a bigger world, more action-packed set pieces, and an expanded story that gave the previously silent Isaac a voice. It was brilliant, a fantastic game by all accounts, an experience that had me riveted and ready to jump into New Game Plus the moment I was done with the first round. But EA was already in the process of EA-ing the entire series up. Naturally, the game featured launch day DLC, chiefly the Hazard Pack, the Martial Law Pack, and the Supernova Pack, and because competitive multiplayer had really taken off, a competitive multiplayer mode was clumsily crammed into the experience. To give you an idea of just how memorable and lasting Dead Space 2's multiplayer was, I completely forgot it existed until I started looking up the old games again and thought, oh yeah, that completely pointless, poorly implemented piece of shit. I remember that completely pointless, poorly implemented piece of shit. Additionally, Electronic Arts drew heavy criticism with its desperate marketing campaign, which notoriously included the "Your Mom Hates Dead Space 2" ads. EA deliberately sought out 200 older women with little video game experience and conservative values, then sat them in front of the violent game to record their reactions.
Oh my god! Oh gosh. I think it'll make a person become insane.
This game is an atrocity.
It was amazing just how many people EA managed to piss off with this. It played off stereotypes about women, older people, and the game industry's own bad reputation among certain segments of media. Some would defend the campaign, but looking back at it was, well, embarrassing to say the least, and woefully out of touch for a time where gaming had truly begun to become a major mainstream force. I mean, even Fox News had grown somewhat tired of bashing video games by this point. Come the fuck on. I will say this though, the spin-off iOS game that launched around the same time as Dead Space 2 was better than it had any right to be and worked surprisingly well on a touchscreen. This was back when mobile gaming was on the rise and had a lot of releases with actual effort put into them, long before mobile games all began cloning and aping each other in a giant industrial orgy of money and spunk. Dead Space 2 would eclipse the success of its mainline predecessor, selling 2 million in just 2 weeks. Which of course brings us, unceremoniously, to Dead Space 3. The erratic, confused sheep of the family. At its core, Dead Space 3 was a good game. Great even, but the things EA did to it, the meddling, trend-chasing, grasping things EA did to it, will forever overshadow whatever competence the game itself might have had. Competitive multiplayer was out, and cooperative gameplay was the hot new gimmick that major publishers latched onto. Why the fuck was it in Fear 3? So it was that the masterfully claustrophobic, isolated feel that made the first 2 games work so well was undermined spectacularly by a second protagonist, Carver, a hero so memorable I had to look his name up. Visceral claimed Dead Space was always meant to have co-op, which, if true, proves that sometimes things not making it into the original vision are a good thing. Isn't that right, Luke Starkiller? You want to know about launch day DLC? Oh, Dead Space 3 had plenty of them shits on offer. The First Contact pack, the Witness the Truth pack, the Marauder pack, the Sharpshooter pack, the Tundra Recon pack, and the Tau Volantis Survival Kit. Additionally, 2 pre-order exclusive weapons, the EG900 SMG and Tesla Innovator, would become separate DLC purchases. Oh, but that's not all. As well as co-op, the other big thing that had started to reach AAA gaming was, and you know it's coming, microtransactions. By 2012 and 2013, the practice of putting the economies of free-to-play games into premium $60 purchases had begun in earnest. And Dead Space 3 was a notable early victim, as well as a warning sign as to what microtransactions can do to fundamentally damage a game. A warning sign still unheeded by many a modern title. To justify the rampant money grubbing, the entire weapon system of Dead Space was changed to support using resources to build your own overpowered destructive implement. Completely unbalancing the game and throwing horror out the fucking window, much of the game revolved around using a scavenger bot to look for resources that could build new guns. You could wait around or pay real-life money for immediate crafting tools, very much like a free-to-wait mobile game. And mobile games were the definite inspiration. You know how corporate defenders these days justify microtransactions by saying games are so expensive to make and they've got to make their money back somehow? That wasn't their original excuse. As one monumentally stupid statement from Visceral Games put it, players of mobile games expected microtransactions, and so they were there to attract mobile gamers. Yes, mobile gamers know about in-app purchases, so the distinctly non-mobile game on a totally different platform with a completely different audience mimicked in-app purchases. Dead Space 3 went all in on that mobile shit too. You could buy packs to upgrade your scavenger bot to make it more efficient, as well as packs that just gave you resources directly, something that would be advertised in-game in truly immersion-breaking form. Naturally, those speaking on behalf of the game would defend this bollocks with excuses you're all very used to hearing by now. It's optional content that you can just ignore. Yeah, that old routine is very, very old, but it wasn't optional to have Dead Space 3 gutted and slapped back together in a way that entirely accommodated microtransactions at the expense of the gameplay itself. This is all stuff I said back in 2012, and here we are. The industry's only getting worse and worse with the vandalising of its own property and still telling us it's all optional. I won't even go into the pre-order bonuses and Slim Jim food promotions, but to say Dead Space 3 resembled a prototype Shadow of War in several ways would be, I think, rather fair. And among all this tripe was the notorious fucker of them all, Electronic Arts' inane claim that Dead Space 3 needed to sell 5 million copies in order for the series to continue. EA had gotten lucky with this series. It had pure gold in its hands. It didn't even know what it had. A quality horror series that received both critical and commercial success. Fucking dynamite, but it just couldn't help itself, could it? It needed more, wanted more, demanded more. And what EA desired seemed completely fucking unrealistic. And was. With Dead Space 3 being so reliant on its mobile game economy and clearly not being the game fans expected or wished for, it was deemed a sales disappointment. It sold 605,000 copies in North America during its first month and joined the then recently released Crysis 2 among EA's list of market disappointments. Again, something of an unfortunate trendsetter, Dead Space 3 was among the first games we'd see publishers slating for failing to meet expectations as marketing budgets grew and profits were expected to grow with them. In the aftermath of Dead Space 3, rumours abound that a previously worked on Dead Space 4 had been cancelled. Electronic Arts went so far as to call such reports shoddy journalism and patently false, yet Dead Space 3 was indeed the last hurrah for the series. In June 2013, EA confirmed Visceral had not been asked to make a new Dead Space and was instead working on what would later be revealed as Battlefield Hardline, something I'm sure we all prefer. absurd. By 2015, I was convinced Visceral was on the way out, looking at the way Unicronic Arts had consumed and destroyed other companies in the past, and my prediction turned out to be true. As of October 17th, 2017, Visceral Games is no more. The story-driven Star Wars game it was making has been cancelled, and EA's fully pivoted toward the money-making games-as-service model, all but suggesting the age of high-quality, tightly scripted, single-player-focused games was over, at least as far as they were concerned. And like most things in the game industry, that's how Dead Space ended. Not with a bang, but with a sad, gasping whimper of escaped air, as the hand of its publisher grasped tighter, ever tighter, around its throat. Until it died. Which Dead Space did. And Visceral did. And so many other studios did, with EA's fingers clenched firmly at their necks. Looking back, what happened to Dead Space is what happened to the AAA game industry as a whole. It serves as a traceable record of the degradation to which the business would sink, going from such promise, such wonder, to such greed-fueled floundering and inevitable death. And that's Dead Space.
Oh my God! Oh God!
I suppose you better stop watching this space, because that series is officially dead.
What are you, the fucking crypt keeper now?
Shut up! Anyway, boys and ghouls, sweet screams